Good day, Naisian. For this video, we will going to have a review for your midterm exam on the topics on environmental loss, disaster preparedness, climate change, and national security for your subject CWTS and ROTC. So let us start. Well, let's start with environmental loss. We'll discuss here RA 9003, the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, RA 9147, the Wildlife Protection Act, PD 705, Forestry Reform Code of the Philippines, RA 9175, the Chainsaw Act, and RA 8749, the Philippine Clean Air Act. So let us start with the with RA 9003, also known as the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000. Now, what are prohibited here? Prohibited here is littering. Littering, or the act of throwing or dumping waste in public places such as streets, canals, and stereo. That is prohibited. Unsegregated waste is also covered by this act, including open burning. You are not allowed to burn your home waste, such as plastic, papers, and rubbers. That is covered by RA 9003. So let's have an illustration. Ariel is a well-known philanthropist in his community. In fact, every Saturday, he conducted feeding programs to underweight child in his community. However, after conducting the said activity, tons of unsegregated waste were born, including plastics and rubbers. So, were born, no? So, is Ariel criminally liable? Well, the answer is yes. He is liable for Solid Waste Management Act, violation of Solid Waste Management Act for open burning. Okay, because he burned waste. Another law is RA 9147. This is also known as the Wildlife Protection Act. So what is prohibited here is capturing and killing of wildlife species. When we say wildlife species, these are endangered species like our Philippine eagle and our pawikan. Okay? They are protected under the law. We are not allowed to capture them. We are not allowed to kill them. So, for example, Russo is a tourist from Russia. He went to Apo Island in order to experience tourist attraction in the area, which is swim with the pawikan. When no one was watching him, he grabbed one pawikan and brought it in his rented bangka, after which he killed the pawikan and cooked its meat. Is Russo criminally liable? The answer is yes, for violation of Wildlife Protection Act for killing an endangered species. Pawikan, again, is an endangered species. Then we have our PD Presidential Decree 705, or the Forestry Reform Code of the Philippines. What is prohibited here? Any person who shall cut, gather, collect, remove timber or forest products from forest land, timber from inalienable and disposable public lands, including, take note of this, private lands, without authority or permit from the DNR, is a crime under PD 705. Now, even if you planted a tree and it is in your backyard or in your personal property or your lot, you cannot cut it without permit from the DNR. You need to have permit from DNR. So, for example, this one. Jerry is the owner of 1 hectare prime property with lots of yakal tree, which he planted 10 years ago. He wanted to construct a 10-door apartment, and so, with the use of chainsaw, he cuts all the yakal tree without seeking permit from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, after which he asked Engineer B to construct the apartment. Is Jerry criminally, or has Jerry violated any environmental law? The answer is yes. Violation of Forestry Reform Code of the Philippines for cutting trees without permit. Remember, even if you're the one planting it, it's in your backyard or in your property, but you need to secure permit from the DNR. Then you have also RA 9175, and this is the Chainsaw Act. What is punishable act here? Any person who shall sell, purchase, transfer, or the ownership, distribute, or otherwise dispose, or possess chainsaw without first securing necessary permit from the department or DNR is a crime under RA 9175. Okay? So if you want to have a chainsaw, if you want to sell your chainsaw, you need to have a permit from the DNR. Example, Edwin is a former employee of Logging Timber Concessionaire Company. When his company was shut down due to numerous violations, he brought 5 chainsaws in his home. Due to abject poverty brought by the pandemic, he decided to sell the chainsaw to Dante without obtaining license from DNR. Is Edwin criminally liable? The answer is yes. Violation of Chainsaw Act for selling chainsaw without permit from the DENR. So again, if you want to sell your chainsaw, you want to possess chainsaw, you must have permit from the DNR. Then we have also RA 8749, and this is the Philippine Clean Air Act. What is prohibited here is the using or operating a smoke-belching vehicle. Now, what is a smoke-belching vehicle? Just like what you saw in the picture, it's a vehicle that emits pollutants way above the minimum standard. So that's smoke-belching vehicle. Okay, so let's have an illustration. Freddy is a driver-operator of traditional jeepney in the cities of Metro Manila. He wants to renew the registration of his vehicle, so he went to the emission testing center. His jeepney failed in the emission test, meaning it emits pollutants above the minimum standard. However, he gave a bribe money to the emission testing center in order to obtain a favorable result. The testing center agreed and issued a certificate of compliance, after which Freddy able to renew his registration. One day, the Land Transportation Office conducted an on-the-spot anti-smoke belching vehicle operation. Freddy's vehicle failed in the said on-the-spot emission test. Has Freddy violated any environmental law? The answer is yes. Violation of Philippine Clean Air Act for operating a smoke belching vehicle. Okay? For operating a smoke belching vehicle, and that is a crime. Now, let's go to another module, and this is disaster preparedness. No? We need to prepare for disaster. No? We need to prepare. Because, many people died in Super Typhoon Yolanda. The reason, they were caught off guard. They were caught surprise. So, in terms of disaster risk, Philippines ranked 3rd among all the countries with the highest worldwide, with the highest risk worldwide, according to World Risk Report in 2018. Why? Why does the Philippines often hit by disaster such as typhoon and earthquake? Why is it? Well, for a simple reason that the Philippines is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is the Philippines, and this is the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is where there are many typhoons that is formed in the Pacific Ocean, and so we are facing the Pacific, and we are in what called Pacific Ring of Fire. Then most often than not, we are hit by disasters such as typhoon and volcanic eruption, including earthquake. Now, so what should we do in order to prepare for typhoon? So we must stay indoors and be calm. Stock food, water, cloth, first aid, emergency kit. Have flashlight, radio, and batteries. Monitor weather reports and updates. This one is very important. Keep your mobile phone fully charged and save emergency hotlines. That is very important. Trim trees near you, near your houses. Okay? Turn off electricity, gas tanks, and other water in case of flooding. Now, that is what you're going to do in case of typhoon. In case of earthquake, okay, you should do the what called drop, cover, and hold during earthquake. Okay, but this is applicable during earthquake. The drop, cover, and hold. Now, we have RA 10121, or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. And what does it say? It created what we call the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, the NDRRMC. And what is the function of this? What is the function of the chairperson? The chairperson has the authority to include the power to call on the reserve force as defined under RA 7077 to assist in the relief and rescue operation during disaster or calamities. Now, if you will graduate CWTS or ROTC, you will become a reserve force. You will become a reservist. And during calamity, during typhoon, for example, or earthquake, for example, you may be called upon to help during relief and rescue operation. And who will call that? The National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council chairperson, who is also the Secretary of National Defense. So, here, we have the so-called National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, and we have also the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Authority. Now, example, Luzon was struck by a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, which caused great damage and trapped several persons inside a collapsed building. In order to help in the rescue and recovery operation, Mayor D wants to call on AP reservists to help in the operation. Which government agency can mobilize AP reservists? Just like if you will graduate, if you finish CWTS or ROTC. Then it is the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council, the NDRRMC. Now, what are punishable acts under 10121? Well, we have so-called misrepresenting the source of relief goods, equipment, and other commodities by covering, replacing, defacing the labels of containers to make it appear that the goods, equipment, and other aid commodities came from agency or a person. So, I'll just give you an example. This one. The city of Leyte is being hit by a strong typhoon which caused great damage. The office of the Vice President immediately sent relief goods to Mayor Pidots for immediate distribution. The mayor immediately made a sticker with his face and name and put it on the relief goods so that it will appear that it was his office that gave the relief goods. Is Mayor Pidots liable? Yes, he changed the labeling. No? Yes, for violation of Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act for replacing the labels of the relief goods to make it appear that it comes from his office. That is a crime under our law. And we have also another prohibited act here is illegal solicitation by a person or organization representing others as defined standards and guidelines of NDRMC. So, illegal solicitation. Okay? Now, let's have an example. Bicol region was devastated by a 3 typhoon in the span of 2 weeks. In order to help the victim of typhoons, Mr. DDS, a social media influencer, conducted a relief operation and started receiving donations and other goods. However, he used the money and goods for personal gain. Is there any violation? The answer is yes. Violation of Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction Management Act for illegal solicitation. Okay, I think that's the end of this video. This is part 1. We still have part 2. Thank you and good luck in your midterm exam.